Hey guys, today we're going to teach about diagramming problems using the proportion method, which is fraction bar equals fraction bar, and squiggle problems, which are just solving for a variable with an equation. So to do this, you're going to need a pencil, some paper. Let's get it started. 4% of what number is 10? Before you start diagramming sentences, you have to read them out loud and determine what you don't know. I don't know what number. When I don't know the number, I'm going to use n to represent number. Of just means times. Whatever number comes next to of is called the whole. Is means equals, and the number that's next to is called the part. And 4% is the percent. In the proportion method, you substitute the percent with your 4, and you do not write the percent sign because percent means boom, out of 100. You don't need it. The part, in this case, is 10. I don't know my whole. So now I have a proportion problem. And to solve proportions, all we do is use cross products. So I do 10 times 100 to get 1,000, and 4 times n to get 4n. And then to isolate your variable, you divide both sides by 4 to get 250 is equal to your number. So 4% of what number? 4% of 250 is 10. In the equation method, you could either use the part equals the whole times the percent of the decimal, or just read it from left to right. 4%, the only thing that's tricky here is you have to write the percent as a decimal. So 4% is 0.04. Of what number? Of means times. What number? I don't know, so I put the n next. The coefficient, the number, always comes before the variable. Is means equals 10. Now I just solve by doing a squiggle problem. Divide both sides by 400ths. And you get your number is 250. So by the end of the day today, I'd like you to be able to set up both types of problems. Let's try setting up another one. 30% of what number is 9? All right, pause the video and see if you can fill in fraction bar equals fraction bar, the proportion method. Did you set it up correctly? Percent of what number? Percent goes on top. Of what number? I don't know the whole, so that goes in the denominator. Is the part, so the 9 goes on top. To solve from here, I just do cross products. 30n equals 900. Divide both sides by whatever's next to your variable, and you get your letter, your variable. In this case, is equal to 30. With the equation method, excuse me, let's just translate it left to right. The only thing you have to do is change your percent to a decimal. So do that, move it 2 spots to the left. 30% becomes 3/10. Of what number? Of means multiply. Is means equals 9. Divide both sides to isolate your variable, and you get your answer of 30 again. Okay, let's do the next one. This is a different type of problem. 15 is what percent of 10? And the reason I did this one for you is because this case you don't know the percent. So instead of using n for number, we're going to use p for percent, and at the end we need to make sure we tack on a percent sign. So why don't you try setting up your proportion. Pause the video and see if you can do it on your paper. Now you need to know that you don't know the percent. So the percent is boom, out of 100. I don't know that, so that's why I have to make sure I put a variable there. Percent always is over 100. Always over 100%, is always out of 100, because percent means boom, out of 100. The number next to is always the part. The number after of is always the whole. So this is going to be a number that's over 100% because it's an improper fraction. To solve, I just use cross products. 10 times p is 10p, 15 times 100 is 1500. Divide both sides by 10 to isolate your variable. You get your percent is 150. And the reason I use a p for percent is so when I get done and my variable is a p, I know I need to have a percent at the end. And when you're using proportion method, your percent's already there for you. All you have to do is tack on a percent sign. The equation method's a little trickier because in the equation method, you have to write your percent as a decimal. So again, I don't know this. I'm going to let it to be p. The whole is 10, and the part is 15. So 15 is what percent of means multiply 10. Divide both sides by 10, But hold up here. How come my answers do not match? The reason they don't match is because this percent is written as a decimal in the equation method. So I have to convert this decimal back into a percent. To change a decimal to percent, you move it 2 place values to the right. So when you do that, you get 150%. Now they match. You're ready to go. Let's try this one on your own. 8 is what percent of 40? You don't know the percent, so use the variable p. Pause the video and see if you can set up both the proportion and the equation method. Check it out and see if you set it up correctly. Way to go! Now, all you have to do is solve using cross products for the proportion and when you're done, you're going to put a percent sign on your answer. If you did the equation method, you just isolate for your variable. You're going to get a decimal, so you need to convert that decimal back into a percent by moving it 2 place values to the right. And it doesn't matter which way you're going to choose, I just want you to be able to set up both because sometimes one is easier than the other. What percent of 56 is 49? So this one's written a little bit differently. Again, I don't know the percent, so I'm going to let that be p. The number next to of is your whole. The number next to is your part. Go ahead and pause the video and set them up. Okay, check it out. Which one did I set up correctly? Talk about it. The equation method is set up correctly. Proportion method I messed up. Percent is what I don't know. The percent is always over 100. So I always put the percent over 100, the part over the whole. Now they're both set up correctly and I can solve. If you need help on doing proportions, remembering how to do those, please make sure you see me during work time. Raise your hand and I'll come around and help you. Or make an appointment to see me during flex or at another time because I'm under the assumption that all of you know how to do proportions because you were just tested on it. And all of you as well know how to do squiggle problems. So if you do not, and you need just a review, please make sure you ask. So in this case, our decimal is 0.875. Remember that in the equation method, your percent is always a decimal until you convert it back. Move it 2 spots to the right, you get 87.5%. So the last problem, 24 is what percent of 50? Pause the video, write this down, and see if you can just set up both the proportion and the equation method when you don't know the percent. You check your math, see if you set them up both correctly. I'm going to pause the video, and the next thing you're going to do is to solve these. So when you're isolating for your variable, just remember that when you get in the equation method, you have to convert it back into a percent because in the equation method, your percent is written as a decimal. Alright, that's the end of our video. The next thing we're going to do is an activity using your diagram that you picked up at the door and your tracking sheets. Make sure you have both, and then I'll explain directions next. Thanks for being here, guys. Please make sure you ask for questions and ask for help during work time, and if you need more, check out my video online. Otherwise, come in and ask me for help. Thanks again.